I want to start today with a question that might feel uncomfortable. When did you last buy a new pair of sunglasses? And when you chose them, were you thinking about what was on sale, what was trending, or what the person in the shop said looked nice? Because here is the thing that nobody tells women over 60 about sunglasses. Of all the accessories you wear, sunglasses have the single most immediate and visible impact on how old or how young your face reads to the world. More than your bag, more than your jewelry, more than your shoes. The right pair can lift your entire face, make your complexion look brighter, and project the kind of effortless confidence that makes people stop and look. The wrong pair can add years to your appearance before you have even chosen your outfit. And the genuinely frustrating part? Most of the sunglass advice aimed at women over 60 is vague, generic, and completely unhelpful. Try every pair on and see what feels right. Choose what you love. Wear what makes you happy. All of that sounds lovely. None of it actually helps you stand in front of a mirror and know with genuine certainty whether what you are looking at is working for your face or quietly working against it. Today at Timeless Style Woman, we are fixing that. I am going to walk you through 5 specific sunglass mistakes that are aging women over 60 right now, exactly why each one does what it does to your face, and the precise swaps that will immediately transform the way you look and feel every time you put them on. Stay with me until mistake number 5. Because number 5 is the one that makes every other mistake on this list make sense. And once you understand it, choosing sunglasses will never feel like guesswork again. Let us begin. Mistake number 1. Tiny sunglasses. And this one might be more common in your wardrobe than you realize. Small, narrow lenses that barely cover the eye area were a major trend in the 90s, and they have come back around again recently in a slightly different form. And on a mature face, they do something very specific and very unflattering every single time. Here is the science behind why. When the sunglasses are smaller than the face proportions call for, the eye does not just see small sunglasses. It sees a large face. Small frames make the surrounding face appear larger by comparison. They draw the eye directly toward the under-eye area and the outer corners of the eyes, which are precisely the areas most of us would prefer not to highlight. And they create hard, thin lines across the face that interrupt the natural flow of your features, rather than enhancing them. But there is something else happening with tiny sunglasses that goes beyond proportion. And this is the part one wants you to sit with for a moment. Small sunglasses have an energy. They have a hesitant, tentative, slightly apologetic energy. They suggest someone who is not entirely comfortable taking up space. And that energy shows. Not just in the sunglasses but in the overall impression the wearer makes. You have spent 60+ years becoming the woman you are. Your accessories should reflect that fully, not tentatively. The sweet spot for mature faces is medium to large lenses that provide genuine coverage of the eye area, without overwhelming the face. When you put on the right size sunglasses, your eyes should sit in the center of the lenses. Not cramped at the top, not swimming in excess space. Centered. Framed. Intentional. Tell me in the comments. Are you a tiny sunglass wearer? And do you know why you gravitated toward them? I genuinely want to know because I think the reasons are more interesting than most people expect. Mistake number 2. Going so far in the opposite direction that the sunglasses start wearing you. After everything I just said about tiny sunglasses, the instinct is to simply go bigger. Larger is more flattering. More coverage is better. If small is aging, surely large solves the problem. And here is where I want to be completely honest with you, because this is where a lot of well-meaning style advice leads women astray. Oversized sunglasses can look absolutely stunning on mature women, when they are the right kind of oversized. When they are not right, they create a completely different set of problems that are just as aging as tiny frames, only in the opposite direction. When sunglasses are genuinely too large for your face, the frames dominate everything. Your features disappear behind them rather than being enhanced by them. And instead of looking like a confident, elegant woman wearing fabulous sunglasses, the impression shifts to something closer to a woman hiding behind her sunglasses. The energy is defensive rather than confident. And that distinction is immediately visible. There is also a practical issue that nobody discusses enough. Genuinely oversized frames tend to slide down the nose, particularly as we age and the shape of the nose bridge changes slightly. And that constant pushing up and repositioning creates exactly the fussy, self-conscious body language that is the opposite of effortless elegance. Here is the test I want you to do with any pair of sunglasses you currently own or are considering. The frame should extend to approximately the width of your face at the widest point. If they extend noticeably beyond that on both sides, they are too large. If they cover your cheekbones completely or rest on your cheeks when you look down slightly, they are too large. The goal is substantial without overwhelming, present without dominating. The sunglasses should make you more visible, not less. Mistake number 3. Frame colors that drain your complexion before you have left the house. This is one of the most quietly aging mistakes on this entire list. And it is the one that most women have never consciously thought about at all. Here is what is true about color as we get older. Our skin tone often shifts. Our hair lightens or silvers. Our overall coloring can become more luminous but also more delicate. And the frame color sitting directly beside your face has an enormous influence on whether your complexion looks warm, vibrant, and alive or flat, tired, and dull. The most common culprit is stark, pure black frames. And I know this is going to be controversial because black frames have been considered the classic, safe, universally flattering choice for decades. But I want to challenge that idea directly. Pure black and strong light against mature skin can be extraordinarily harsh. It creates a high contrast that pulls attention toward shadows under the eyes and makes any unevenness in the complexion more visible rather than less. It can make the skin look grayer and more fatigued than it actually is. And the overall effect is one of subtraction rather than enhancement. This does not mean you need to abandon dark frames entirely. It means you need to be more specific about which dark frames you choose. Charcoal gray with subtle undertones. Soft black with blue or brown undertones. Deep tortoiseshell. Rich warm brown. These alternatives give you the depth and sophistication of a dark frame without the harshness of pure black against mature skin. For women with warm undertones in the skin, which you can identify by looking at the veins on the inside of your wrist in natural light, if they appear green, you have warm undertones. Frames in tortoiseshell, warm brown, gold, and rich burgundy will make your complexion look healthy and vibrant. For women with cool undertones, those with blue or purple veins, frames in charcoal gray, navy, and soft silver will complement your coloring without washing you out. And for both groups, do not be afraid of color. A deep burgundy frame, a rich forest green, a warm copper tone. These can be more flattering and more interesting than any neutral, and they are worth trying before you default to what feels safe. Subscribe to Timeless Style Woman right now if you are not already part of this community. Every week we have exactly these kinds of honest, specific, and genuinely useful conversations about dressing and presenting beautifully after 60. Hit subscribe and join us. Mistake number 4. Frame shapes that drag your features downward instead of lifting them. This is the mistake that I think has the most immediate and most visible impact on how old or how young your face reads. And it is the one that is most consistently overlooked. Here is the principle. Every frame has a direction. The shape of the frame and the angle of its outer edges either pull the eye upward and outward, which creates lift and a more alert, refreshed appearance, or they pull the eye downward and inward, which creates the visual impression of sagging and tiredness. The shapes that consistently age mature faces are those that are wider at the bottom than at the top, frames that angle downward at the outer corners, and perfectly circular frames with no lift whatsoever. All of these direct the eye downward. And when the eye is directed downward, the overall impression of the face follows. Perfectly round frames are worth discussing separately because they are genuinely popular right now. And on mature faces they have a very specific problem. They add circular emphasis to a face that already has natural softening happening along the jawline and cheekbones. Circular shapes do not provide the structure and lift that mature faces respond to most beautifully. They can make a face look rounder and softer than the wearer intends. What you want instead are shapes that give the outer edge of the frame a gentle upward direction. A subtle cat-eye lift. A rectangular frame with corners that rise very slightly. Even a classic square frame with well-defined angles. These shapes tell the eye to move upward and outward, and the face follows. Now, on cat-eye frames specifically, because I know the word cat-eye can feel intimidating, you do not need a dramatic, angular vintage cat-eye to get the benefit of an upward sweep. A very subtle modern cat-eye that simply has a gentle rise at the outer corners is all it takes to create visible lift. The shape does not need to be extreme to be effective. It needs to be directional. Try this the next time you are trying on sunglasses. Look at the outer corners of the frame in the mirror. Do they point upward? Or do they angle downward? That one observation will tell you almost everything you need to know about whether a frame will be flattering or aging on your mature face. Mistake number 5. And this is the one that makes every other mistake on this list make complete sense. Choosing sunglasses without understanding your face shape. I know this sounds like the most basic piece of advice imaginable. You have probably heard it dozens of times. Find your face shape and choose accordingly. And you have probably ignored it because the face shape advice you have received was vague, confusing, and did not actually help you stand in a shop and make a decision. So let me make this as specific and as useful as possible. If you have an oval face, your face is slightly longer than it is wide with balanced proportions and no dominant angles. Most sunglass shapes work for you, but the most flattering tend to have a width that is slightly greater than the widest part of your face and a shape with some definition rather than being purely circular. If you have a round face, your face is approximately as wide as it is long with soft, curved edges and a rounded jawline. You want frames that add length and angles. Rectangle shapes, subtle cat eyes, and frames that are wider than they are tall will all create the impression of a longer, more defined face. Avoid round frames at all costs. They will emphasize exactly what you are trying to balance. If you have a square face, you have strong, defined angles at the jaw and forehead with approximately equal width and length. You want frames that soften those angles and add curves. Round and oval frames and frames with curved rather than sharp corners will complement your bone structure beautifully. Avoid very angular frames that will compete with your natural jawline. If you have a heart-shaped face, you have a wider forehead and a narrower chin. You want to balance that by adding visual weight at the lower half of the face. Frames that are wider at the bottom, like a modified aviator, or frames with embellishment or detail at the lower edge, will create the balance your face shape needs. If you have a long face, you want to add width and break up the vertical length. Frames that are wider than they are tall, and frames with interesting detail or decoration, will create that horizontal emphasis. Avoid very narrow, tall frames that will make the face appear even longer. Now here is the most important thing I want you to take away from this entire section. And this is where most face shape advice completely fails women. These are principles. They are not rules. They are starting points for understanding what is most likely to work and why. But the final authority is always how you feel when you look in the mirror. Not how you feel about the shape in the abstract. How you feel about what you see. Whether the frame lifts you or flattens you. Whether it makes you look more like yourself or less. When you combine the right size with the right color and the right shape for your face, something quite specific happens. You do not just look better. You look more like you. The clearest, most confident, most fully present version of you. And that is the whole point. 5 mistakes. 5 clear, specific, actionable corrections. And here is what I want you to do with all of this. Go and find your sunglasses right now. The pair you wear most often. And look at them with fresh eyes using everything we have talked about today. Are the lenses the right size for your face? Is the frame color enhancing your complexion or fighting it? Does the shape of the outer corners lift or drag? Do the proportions complement your face shape or work against it? You do not need to throw every pair away. You might find that one small swap, one pair retired, one new pair chosen with genuine intention, changes the impression you make on the world every time you step outside into the sun. And that change is not vanity. It is the decision to present yourself as fully and as beautifully as you actually are. Tell me in the comments, which of these 5 mistakes have you been making? And which one genuinely surprised you? Because I think mistake number 3, the one about frame color, catches almost everyone off guard. And I want to know if I am right. If this video gave you something useful, share it with a woman in your life who is due for a sunglass rethink. And if you are not yet subscribed to Timeless Style Woman, this is your moment. Join us and come back every week for honest, specific, and genuinely empowering style conversations designed for exactly where you are right now. See you in the next one.